In order to be the underdog's mentor, you had to be the underdog. You had to embody that energy of, I'm the only one who's going to be able to protect myself, protect this light that I hold. Tell us about the pain it took to get there.
Oh, man. It's indescribable when it comes to words. And it was repetitive. It was, how many times can I give somebody a second chance? Allow them to make me believe that I was the reason for the problem, just for them to hurt me over and over again, with every betrayal being more intense and more extreme, to the point where it wasn't just that specific group of people, but they got everybody else in my life to go against me as well. And it left me feeling so unworthy, so confused, because I know I didn't do anything, you know.
Right.
But in order to put it into words, I just posted on this yesterday. I can't describe how bad it hurt. It's like only if you've been through it, you know.
Tell us about the process of learning how to hide in plain sight.
I don't think I realized that I was. I really think it's something that came from the soul. It was something that just happened naturally. I just operated King of Cups out of love and empathy all the time. And I guess to hide in plain sight, you think everybody loves the same way. It's just a belief that you embody because it's kind of what you're projecting out. You don't realize people just aren't like you until you see it so heavily that you can't turn back. You can't unsee it. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, absolutely. When you realized, oh, okay, like, I didn't even consider that this could be a thing. I didn't even consider that people could act this way and do these things because I couldn't imagine doing them. I couldn't imagine having that kind of animosity or hatred. What's one thing that your brain kind of unpacked in that moment? Like one thing that you took out of the box that you were like, okay, I need to deal with this now.
The confusion,
Right?
hands down.
Absolutely.
Even before you flipped that card, it was so confusing.
Right.
What did I do? I know I didn't do anything. Why would they do this? Why?
Right.
Why?
And it's like you're blindfolded and you're sitting there and you're guarding yourself. But at the same time, you're like, I don't know what's coming because I didn't expect any of this in the first place. So how can I know what's going to come next?
I didn't want to see the truth, but then I had to. How many times can you ignore it? You know, I'll never see it the same again. It changed the way that I see the world forever. And it's also kind of, anytime I pull these cards in my reading, I always read that combination is God forced you to see the truth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He forced you.
Once was blind, but now I see because I had to. I had to surrender. You surrendering was you saying, you know what? I've been running from this shadow and I can't anymore. I need to turn around and I need to face it.
I'm trying to figure out which shadow it is. It's one shadow, just so many umbrellas underneath of it. Obviously, I come from a shadow of addiction, of trying to change my reality, run from the pain. Another thing I recognized in my shadow was I was repeating patterns that my parents did. Seeing that shadow, seeing that allowed me to break those patterns. I don't think you can break a pattern or break, generational trauma if you're not inside of the cycle first.
Right? You need to experience it. Basically, being inside of that kind of cycle is like, okay, everyone before you couldn't break out of the cycle. So you need to be in the cycle to have the opportunity to break out of the cycle.
Yeah.
The wound of the invisible cry. Suffering unseen, unheard, unheld. This wound forms when your pain goes unnoticed, whether because you hid it, you were taught to minimize it, or were surrounded by those who couldn't hold it. You learned to cry in silence to cope alone. It can leave you feeling abandoned in your darkest moments and unsure if your needs are worth naming.
That, to me, signifies when I was going through everything that I went through and nobody knew the truth of the experience that I was having because of the plots, the plans, the lies, the slander. Nobody even knew. Nobody even knew the darkness that I was stuck inside at that time. And then it's also from like childhood. you know, my dad, and God, I love my dad. He always pretended like nothing was wrong, even knowing with it right in front of his face, Dad, hear me. Dad, this isn't right. Dad, this isn't okay. Dad, why won't you stand up for us? Why won't you? Sorry, I'm getting that's been ongoing since childhood. That really makes me recognize that not even dad heard my cries.
And when that happens for so long, it's hard to hear yourself because it scares you because you're looking at it like, if no one else can hold this, how am I going to be able to? Because I don't have the tools to, because I wasn't being taught them. What tools do you feel like as you broke out of your tower moments, as you came out on the other side, you were like, okay, if I'm going to be okay, I need these tools to be okay because I wasn't given them. I have to create.
God, tool one, prayer, meditation, and the sun in reverse, getting out in the sun instead of
Absolutely.
hiding myself away, getting out. I love being in nature, love the sun on my skin, and I no longer hide myself. I don't hide who I am anymore. I really put myself out into the world and express my truths, and that's been so healing. I don't go to counselors or teachers, or I went to my phone and started creating content on social media, and it just changed my whole life.
And I think that's so important too, because people don't realize, okay, you might not be able to afford therapy. You might not be able to have time to go to a retreat or do all these things. You don't need to. We have like literally all of the information in the world in our pockets. Like, just like you did, you're like, I don't have a way, I'm going to make one. And the opposite of feeling unseen, unheard, unheld is the rebellion of now I'm going to be seen. You're not going to dim me forever. And that's literally the first card out is the only way out is through. You recognize the only way out is through. Unseen, seen. You don't want to see me? Here, I'm turning the lights all the way up. Now you have to.
Yes.
Now you have to.
I took people's weapons away from me. So Five of Swords reverse. I don't want to fight anymore. Or I feel like this is a one battle, right? This is either somebody in a defeated energy, but on the other side of that, it's a one battle. I took whatever ammunition that others had to hurt me away. I set boundaries. I finally cut the cords. I just removed people out of my life. I refused to allow them to gaslight me or manipulate me or bait me back into situations. And I really learned how to trust my intuition, trust myself. And with that, what can other people outside of myself use to ever put me into any bad situations that are beyond my control ever again?
If you don't give them the ammo, they only can use what they have, and eventually they're going to run out. You just stopped giving them any more to use. Before, you didn't realize that you were doing it, and you realized, and then you stopped.
The world being in my hands, I think the recognition of that. Two of Wands is on the Hangman. And I said that I will never see the world the same again with the Hangman.
Yeah.
So, and Two of Wands, he's literally holding the world in his. It's about the way you perceive the world.
Yeah.
So changing your perception is also a tool because you do have the power, Two of Wands, of choice. And for me, it's my work. So the change of perspective and the choices that I'm making based on that change of perspective, I would say would be another tool.
When you allowed yourself to be seen, it allowed your perspective to shift. You said, oh, I don't have to hide. They told me I have to hide, but I don't have to hide. You came to a point on the path where you said, okay, what I thought I wanted is not what I need. It's not what's good for me. I need to completely figure out a way to get off of this track, off of this path, and on to a different one. Tell us about the process of taking those swords out of your back.
Step one was definitely going into solitude and actually staying there. That was the hardest step because for me, I had abusers in my life, right? Abusers. It was a constant. They tried to come back in. And it's like you experience these tests of you have to hold your boundaries. So step one was really just staying to myself and not allowing people back into my space. You have to feel the pain. You know, you're going to cry, you're going to hurt, and you have to find a way to purge it and release it and get it out. And I think that the swords are out, but the scars are definitely still there. But again, it's all about how you perceive, and the pain built me. It developed me. It shaped me. It molded me into everything I ever needed to be. And I'm proud of those scars.
I'm proud of you too.
Thank you.
There were certain things that when they arose, you had the natural instinct to run. You were like, oh, every time I see this, I bolt. I'm bolting. But you had to like literally stop yourself from doing. Where did you run to internally when you could not run away from the external facing of it? Describe the room inside of you that you had to make as a safe place when the outside didn't feel safe yet.
I would say my heart space. I just have always had such a love for God. Just connecting to like my love for God and my faith that one way or another I was going to pull out. And instead of running from anything, I ran to Him.
Your own mind wasn't going to fix it. Page of Wands to King of Wands in reverse is like, I'm going towards someone who's not going to take the actions for me, but is going to help me look in the right direction to see what actions I need to take myself. Another Hanged Man, another surrender. It feels like your story is layered in, like, if you are the core of an onion, each layer that's peeled away is a deeper level of surrender. Like, okay, you think you surrendered a lot last time? Watch this. You think you did it last? Well, okay, watch this. But each time you do it, you learn something new about what you're capable of. Tell us one thing that you realized you were capable of as these layers of the onions peeled away.
Independence.
Right?
I could walk away and do it myself. That I could face the destruction and put it all back together. One thing about me is I will always make a comeback. Always. And I have faced so many rock bottoms in my life, and the last one was the worst one because it was the one that should have been impossible to come back. And now, too, it's almost like I don't have to face that destruction anymore at the tower in the reverse. Like, the towers can finally come down in my life.
They're in the rear view.
I can say no. I do not have to take that cup that people try to offer me if I don't want to. And before, I didn't say no. I didn't hold boundaries. And now I can. And it's a complete sentence. And I finally understand and know what that means.
When you struggled the most to say no, looking back now, you didn't know this then, but looking back now, what cloud was over your eyes causing you to not see that no was an option?
Man, I just wanted people to like me. People pleasing, validation seeking, that kind of thing. And like no as in like, will you cover my shift? Even though I didn't want to or I had plans. Sure, I'll cover your shift. Just things like that. Will you babysit my kids? I don't want to babysit your kids, but sure, I will. Definitely coming from some type of validation seeking or people pleasing cloud. Lack of love for self.
Yeah, the constant striving for that, like, I'm doing enough. The wound of the fractured feminine, softness confused with weakness. This wound arises when your tenderness, intuition, or emotional depth is dismissed, exploited, or shamed. You learn to hide your softness to be taken seriously or to stay safe. It can leave you feeling disconnected from your true power, unsure if your sensitivity is a gift or a threat. Do you feel like when you were in this people-pleasing behavior, it's because you were just trying to get a clear reflection of yourself?
Probably so. It's funny because not funny, I guess interesting would be the right word, as you read the description of that wound, the people pleasing and the validation seeking, that is exactly how people viewed me. Weak, soft, tender, easy to bully, take advantage of, use, discard, that kind of thing. So it's very aligned. I think I wanted people to see me as good. Right. And it's no matter how much good you put in sometimes, that's how they ended up viewing me right there.
It's like you're showing them this and they're refusing to see anything but that.
Yeah.
Imagine these are all pieces that you had to break off for other people. Like, this person needs all of my energy. This person needs all of my time. This person needs all of my support right now. Describe what it felt like to feel like you weren't rooted in your own soil. like you were constantly just being ripped out and put in other people's soil. Describe that feeling.
Heavy, heavy. Again, it comes with so much confusion. You think that it's like a state of survival. If you don't do this, you're not going to survive in this world. You're not going to make it. If you don't give people everything that they're wanting you to give them, you're going to have nobody. And you can't make it out here in this world by yourself. You can't do it alone. So it's like, I guess fear is what it comes down to. It deep down inside, there's some level of fear. It's scary because if you don't, you die.
You know those diagrams, it's like a circle and then they intersect in the middle. One is fear, one is survival. What would be in that middle section?
I want to say especially with the Five of Cups coming out, that it leaves you feeling depressed, grieving, agony. There's nothing good that comes out of that. When you operate in a state of fear and survival mode, that is what you'll become. That is the way that your life will be.
How do you go from looking at these knocked over cups to being like, okay, there's still two behind me?
I guess it comes down again to choice. Love for self.
And you can only make that choice if you love yourself, because you would never make that hard choice if you were in self-hate or fear.
Exactly. You will never be celebrated. Nobody will ever celebrate you until you can learn how to celebrate yourself. You stop yourself. Staying in that energy, you're the one that's in your own way.
There was a period where you realized, okay, yes, other people have stood in my way, have kicked me down and then tried to hold me there, but there was this bit of like, what do I need to do differently to not repeat this? What role do I play in? You literally had to take a step back to see the bigger picture and be like, okay, this wasn't all for nothing. So the bigger picture is that this wasn't all for nothing. Where do I go now?
So where do I go now? Just forward. Never back. You never go back. And I think I've been talking to you about this for the last couple of days. There has to be so much releasing. As you move forward, there's things that you have to let go of. People, places, things, thought patterns, old belief system, just baggage, So always moving forward, but the more that you're moving forward, the more from the past that you'll have to let go.
It's like you realize, okay, I'm starting to move forward. Almost like when you're on the spiritual journey, it's not a car, it's a hot air balloon. You're going up. You're not going forward. There's nowhere to go. There's no finish line. You're ascending so you can kind of bring everyone else up with you. They're like, oh, look, there's a hot air balloon. I want to get on one. It's that effect. So imagine the chariot as a hot air balloon and the Four of Pentacles in reverse as things you're throwing out. You're like, okay, I've reached a peak. I need to make this thing lighter. So I need to take this, throw it out, take this, throw it out. That's this Ace of Wands. It's the throwing down of this stuff. So the Hermit in reverse, extreme isolation. When only you are left in that hot air balloon, you're faced with this fear of letting a version of yourself down.
I think you might have just touched on a big missing piece for me. A fear of letting a version of myself down. Like what version? I want to say right now I'm battling this so deeply. And I feel like it's the fear of letting this version of myself down. Like the version of myself that has come so far. If I were ever to lose this part of me that I've had to fight so hard for, it's terrifying. And I think I need to let go of that fear and dump it out of the hot air.
And I think that that's a big thing because a lot of people look at that and would automatically go to like, oh, I don't want to let the childhood version of myself down, but you fought so hard to become this version. How can you not recognize that version? How could you not put that version first? And I think that that's kind of coming full. You giving that as an answer is you showing that you've already come full circle because you're recognizing the version of you now. When's the last time you did that? You weren't allowed to do that for a long time.
I don't think I've ever done that before.
Because you had to lose first to get the clarity on how to do it with balance. Because before, when you knew kind of how to protect your energy, people would have taken that confidence and used it against you, which would have diluted it. Now you can look at it for what it is and say, hey, I understand you're projecting, but you're going to have to go do that somewhere else.
Emotional intelligence has
Yes.
really increased in this more healed version of myself.
And that's the key to like fully embodying the version now is that emotional intelligence, which Eight of Swords in reverse is freedom. Freedom directly to your higher self. What was the key that, okay, it's like there was this phone in your mind that was ringing this whole time. And you were like, I hear the phone. I can't find the phone. I know the phone's there. I wish this phone would stop ringing, but I also don't wish it would, because what is it? You finally found the phone, answered the phone, and it was your higher self. Tell us about the energy of your higher self, like what you realized that you need to step into.
Courage. I mean, it was all about getting out of fear and moving courageously. I want to say fearlessly, but I don't believe that. I think we feel fear and then we move anyway. That phone call was, it happened. It really did. But you need to learn how to love and respect yourself before you can ever expect anybody else to love or respect you back. That was a big epiphany that really got me out of my own way, knowing that I'm in control to lead my own life. And it starts from within. If we're messy inside, we're going to be messy outside. So really learning how to love and respect me first was the key.
You recognize the mess on the outside is pointing me to the mess on the inside. And you go in there and you look at this mess that exists inside. Talk about the monster you realized was no longer under the bed and that you were going to have to slay it instead in your life.
They were my family and friends. The monster wasn't under my bed. It was never under my bed. It was the people that were closest to me. In order to slay that monster, I had to master self. It was all about self, because I didn't ever attack them back or seek revenge or retaliation or anything like that. And oh man, did they come for me and hard and are still trying. But I had to slay my own demons. And it goes back to what we talked about earlier in the episode. I had to take their ammunition away from them. And it was all about mastering self, being scared of change or scared of things not changing. And, Four of Wands reverse is just screaming to me about my root chakra and never having stability. It was always all I ever wanted was like a stable home for my children. That's it. And then the one time that we had it, it was taken away from us, unjustly and unrighteously just ripped away from us. And it felt like if I don't master self and slay my own demons, death reverse, it will never change. And
Absolutely.
if it's not these people, it'll be new people. It'll just be the same all over again.
How would you describe your role in helping people come back to themselves because of how you had to come back to yourself?
I think that the biggest piece of the role is to lead the way, right? And authenticity is so important. So I have to absolutely lead the way for others by showing them how it's done, being open and vulnerable and standing in my truth and speaking in my truth and just shining in my authenticity is enough to show them that it's safe for them to do that too. They can always book with me or anything like that, but I really believe for all of us that us just being unapologetically ourselves in this world will inspire others to do the same.
Talk about the belief that your emotions are not punishments, but teachers.
Oh, I love this. So Earth is all about duality and balance. And that's just what it is. Up, down. I teach this. Left, right, in, out, happy, sad, rich, broke. You cannot experience joy, happiness, success, abundance, prosperity, and actually value and appreciate it unless you know what it's like to be sad, broken, depressed, financial struggles. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
it's all about the duality here. And if you want to have the high things in life, you're going to have to experience the lows. How would you ever be able to tell the difference?
Oh, that's good.
You wouldn't know what happiness felt like if you haven't sat in depression. You wouldn't have any idea what love was, but because you've dealt with hate, the first time you feel true, real, unconditional love, you will recognize it right away and appreciate it, value it, never really want to let it go.
Communicate in your way the idea that if things are not okay, it is not the end. There is an option out there somewhere, even if it feels like you're between a rock and a hard place.
Yes. I am so big on this. I'm not surprised that this is what's coming to you. Everything happens for a reason, and we are always exactly where we are supposed to be on our journeys. And it's not always going to be comfortable. When you're in a place where you feel like things just are not going to be okay, or whatever the case may be, they're tests. The universe, God, source, whatever your belief, will test you to make sure you are ready for the next level of your journey or the next part of your ascension or whatever the case may be. You have to pass these series of tests. Your strength, your faith, your patience, right? All of these things are tests. Know that if when things are not feeling okay, it's probably just a test. And you always got to hold your faith. It's all about faith.
So the way that you describe that makes me think of a ladder. Each test is like a rung on a ladder, and you're climbing up the ladder, but you have these like weights on your feet, and there's a bungee. You're meant to go up the ladder, but like it's going to be a challenge, right? There was a point when there was a certain rung of the ladder you couldn't get up. It's like you kept pulling and pulling and pulling, and the bungee kept pulling you down. And you recognize that that bungee cord was a bungee cord of self-worth. I need to align with the true embodiment of self-worth. And when I do, this bungee cord will go away and I'll be able to go to the next rung. Talk about that experience. I can't just tell myself that I feel worthy. I actually need to feel it.
I actually can tell you the exact time where this lesson came about. 2018, I got myself in some pretty rough legal trouble. I was in active addiction. To make a long story short, I made the decision while I was sitting in a jail cell to change my life. And I did it. I got out of jail. I got my crap together and things moved great for us, but I didn't do any of it for my kid's dad really put up with way too much from me in those days of my life. And I wanted to do right by him and do right by my children. And I was determined for it and I did it. So, within that first year of me getting out of jail, we bought our house. I got a really good job. I held that job down for, 3 years until everything happened in 2022. But that is exactly why God allowed everything to happen to me in 2022 the way that it did, because I didn't know my worth yet. It's like if I was ever to be sitting in Empress energy of, that divine feminine abundance and whatever, it's only because I was a mother, because I love and nurture my children, but it's never because I was secure or knew my worth or knew my value. I had to go through losing everything that I had worked so hard for just prior to that in order to learn my worth. And it was a brutal, ugly, nasty process, but I figured it out.
It's like you realized it's not wrong to find your worth in being a mother. It just isn't the end of finding your worth. It's helping you find it, but it's not the end point of it.
I'm still I'm still Taylor inside, more than a mom, more than a wife, more than a worker. I needed to discover who I am inside. And that rung that you're talking about, we made it. I thought we made it. Cars, house, good job, making $20 an hour, benefits. And that was not all there ever was. I have business and abundance and oh my goodness, I have finally got up to that next, whatever,
Right.
But I had to fall back first and it hurt. It was rough.
It's like you realize that what you thought was the top rung is like there's a whole other ladder, but you never would have gotten to that if you didn't fight so hard to get unstuck from that one that you were stuck on. The wound of the frozen maiden. Innocence never allowed to bloom. This wound arises when tenderness, wonder, or youthful joy is shut down too soon. Whether through trauma, pressure, or emotional neglect, your softness was never given space to grow. It can leave you feeling stuck in time, guarded around joy, or unsure how to fully come alive. Do you feel like at that point where you're like, okay, I got it all figured out, the house, the car, everything, do you feel like those were dreams that other people told you were going to be enough, but when you got there, you realized there's something missing and it's me?
I don't think I realized that when I was there, but I did realize it when I lost it all. It was really all about conformity. You look around, the people that were around, and that's all they had. They had their jobs and their homes and their cars, but I have always had dreams and a desire to go to the top of companies and speak on stages and lead massive teams and organizations. I've always been actively working towards that dream since I was 22, and it's back to the rungs. I just could never break past that specific level. So yeah, it was definitely looking about like at the people that surrounded me and conforming to that's all they would ever want or have. Like that's as big as they could dream. It was always in me. But the reckless and impulsive decisions that I have made, I definitely have a very toxic, low vibrational past, and I have made so many mistakes.
The mistakes you made, you now perceive them differently than you did back then. Talk about that.
Absolutely. I used to try to validate almost like a victim mindset or mentality. I know I'm not a bad person, but I'm gonna abuse substances and stuff because I hurt. And it was okay to me back then. And to me, that's just unacceptable now because I've learned how to I love and respect myself too much to ever destroy myself, self-sabotage. I
Right.
learned how to really take accountability for myself.
Talk about the difference it makes. Okay, because things haven't necessarily always been easy since your rock bottom. It hasn't been a walk in the park. But because of the shift in mindset you've had about yourself, you now are a person of action instead of person of I'll deal with that later. And that has made a bigger impact as time's like, okay, I'm not going to put this off till tomorrow. I'm going to do it now. I'm going to face this now. I'm going to take care of this now. What impact has that made? The mindset of I'm going to do it now and not let it wait.
There's definitely been movement in my life. Since January of 2023, my life has done nothing but progress.
Mm.
As you said, we're in a hot air balloon and we're going up. And it's been a slow and steady race, so but every day I'm moving up a little higher, or I'm making growth and progress in some aspect or another, whether it's in my finances, in my fitness journey, in my business, whatever the case may be, or new opportunities coming in, like this podcast, for example. Taking action and movement and getting into the right energy has allowed me to come into contact with the most amazing people that I believe roam this planet. The old version of myself could have never attracted that into her life. It's just all about continuously growing for me.
You would say to the old version of yourself that existed before the first tower fell.
It's so clear. What would I say to that version? The family is going to turn on you, or they've always been against you. Like child. They're not your family and they never have been. End of story. And you're not going to make them either. But you are going to come back from it. You are going to recover. You are going to bounce back when you shouldn't have made it. You're a fighter. Even broken, even wounded, you refuse to give up. I would say don't lose hope. Or you know what? It does feel hopeless. I've described that so recently. This has been worded in my content. There was that sense of hopelessness, like this is never going to get better. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. But I never did lose it. I never did lose the hope. So I think with that star card, that's literally signifying, I would tell myself not to lose hope. I know you see it. No, secrets always come out. I mean, what would I tell myself? I guess what is done in the dark will always come to the light. But I want to say with that, it's like you will have your chance to be seen. They won't always get to cast their shadow on you.
You have to be in the dark to recognize you're not it. You're not the darkness. But like you said earlier, if you don't have the comparison, how will you know, right? But you were protected in the darkness. Talk about one way when you realized that the support system that you were seeking for a period of time was only going to come from yourself. Like it was like a one-man team type thing. Talk about the feeling of that and the feeling of not knowing when that was going to end.
It wasn't a sad feeling when I realized it. It was almost like a feeling of relief because I know I could trust myself. I knew no matter what I was experiencing, and as much as I cried and was angry and upset, that I would not succumb. I would not quit. Recognizing and realizing that it was just me, it was more of a sigh of relief because I knew I could always depend on myself. Maybe that was the season or the time that I really developed a bond of trust with me and me.
Like motivational punches. Let's call them not a speech, motivational punches, right?
Man, consistency wins. You have to stay focused, show up, and do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. It's all about consistency. Hard work, focus, consistency. You have to keep going. There's always going to be liars. There's always going to be cruel people out here in this world that want to stop you. When you are out to pursue big things in this world, there will be those that do not want to see you win. As long as you stay focused, as long as you stay consistent and you keep going, you will win anyway.
Right.
Always.
Absolutely.
And it's, King of Swords reverse, the cruelness. And you're going to have people that want to take from you. They want to steal your work from you. They're going to want to just take what benefit, right? Come in to try to benefit from you. And that's why it's so important that you do your healing and you learn how to set boundaries and you study the darkness so that you can recognize it, because it's always going to be there. Always going to try and sneak back in.
This is literally like you become the purpose you seek as you find what you're meant to be doing. And you know when you're getting close because people will try to stop you.
Yes, 100%. Follow your dreams. I mean, you got to follow your dreams. And again, stay consistent and make sure that you love what you do.
Yeah.
You got to love what you do. You got to have love and care and take care of what you do. Treat it like a baby.
Your offering of love to the world.
Like the money will follow.
Right.
When you help enough people in this world get what they want, you will get everything that you want. It's universal law. You have to give to receive. So you always move in love. You always move in faith. And when you put in the time and the effort and the work, you're going to get the reward. Maybe not when you expect it to or how you want it to, but the reward will always show up exactly when it's supposed to. You've got to trust in the divine timing of everything.
Absolutely. And sometimes you get what you need, which might not be what you want, but then you realize, oh, that was what I needed to get what I would eventually want.
Everything in the divine timing of things. So temperance reverse to me is signifying impatience.
Yeah.
Like you cannot get impatient. You literally have to allow God, spirit, the universe, source, whatever, to move on your behalf. Everything is a divine plan, divinely orchestrated. So yeah, you just have to trust in the divine timing of things. You have to stay patient, balanced, patient, grounded, whatever. And if you get yourself in that upside down energy, you got to turn it around. I don't even know what card is left.
I don't know either. I can't. That's what I was just doing. I was just trying to think of like, what card is this?
Oh,
There is this energy that you have to embody when you have the calling to lead others. There is this energy of it's always going to be there, but I need to make friends with it because it's fuel. Whether this is a shadow, whether this is a wound, it's like I went through this so that I could lead. Talk about that energy in whatever way you feel called to.
it's definitely something that I've seen play out in my life, because the people that I lead and help have been through or are currently going through the exact same experiences. I want to say that I made every mistake in my experience that I could ever make. I did things looking back that I should have known better. And I realized that I was meant to fail and I was meant to go through it way messier than it ever had to be, because it developed me to be that leader for others.
Right.
Did that answer it?
I'm going to let you look at this card and you tell me if that answered it, okay?
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
God says you answered the question at least. Ghosts of potential, haunted by who you could have been because you knew the whole time. You just had to lose your way to find it. This wound forms when you carry the weight of unlived possibilities, versions of yourself that never had the chance to thrive, whether blocked by fear, circumstance, or sacrifice. Their absence lingers. It can leave you feeling regretful, unfinished, or haunted by the ache of what might have been. You refused to succumb to the ghosts of potential. That's what it was. You brought justice to it. You said, nope. And this is the balance you just talked about. When it's this, turn it into this. Don't let the potential go to waste. Do you have any final words?
Man, I'm just so grateful. Thank you for bringing, I can't even talk. Thank you for bringing me on here and allowing me to experience this, Ash. It was incredible.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate you.
Okay, so I'm going to try and read this without crying. I already told you that I'm probably going to cry, so let's get to this. Taylor has not, again, as all the guests, none of them hear the outro until it is time for the outro. They're told that it is the bookend to the intro. She didn't show up polished. She showed up real. No mask, no script, no saving face. Just the sound of a woman who's had to rebuild herself with whatever pieces they didn't steal. Taylor came from the wreckage not as a victim, but as proof that some of us were forged in places too dark to name. This wasn't a redemption story. It was a survival manual, written in scars, silence, and second chances. She didn't flinch when she told the truth. She bled it. Because when the world tried to swallow her, she chewed her way out. When no one clapped, she kept building. When love felt like war, she learned to love herself louder. You don't get this kind of strength from easy. You get it from being broken in places they never thought you'd heal. From burying dreams and digging them back up with your bare hands. She didn't come here to impress you. She came here to remind you. The ones who have lost everything aren't afraid to start over. The ones who've had to scream just to be heard carry a different kind of thunder. Taylor is that thunder. Raw, reckless, risen. This is for every woman who had to be her own rescue. Who had to fight for peace with no map, no mentor, just grit. She made fire out of failure. She made fuel out of being forgotten. She turned the insult into an invitation. And she walked through hell with her fist still clenched and her spirit intact. This isn't a comeback, it's a calling out. This is the reckoning of the phoenix they buried alive that became the reckoning of the underdog's flame. She didn't just survive it. She became it. Thank you so much to everyone for listening today and watching and holding space for Taylor and myself. Thank you again, Taylor, so much for sharing your story. There it is, I'm crying. Thank you again so much for sharing your story with us. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, everybody, for being here.